Imagine, if you will, the 19th century Canada, a place of rapid change and growth, but also a place where the seeds of a significant issue were sown, the emergence of gangs. Our journey starts in this era, a time when Canada's roots were still tender. As Canada grew, so did these groups, evolving in parallel with the country's sprawling urban landscapes, shifting demographics, and budding economics. Informed by various historical, social, and economic factors such as globalization, immigration, and the rising drug trade, their form took shape. Fast forward a few decades, and these gangs hit their adapting and diversifying, responding to local conditions and demographics. They weren't just an citywide issue, but stretched their influence into remote areas as well. Much like a chameleon changing its colors to blend in, they morphed and changed to fit their surroundings. We then moved to different landscapes, whether it was the bustling, gritty streets of Toronto or the remote, rugged areas of British Columbia where gangs found fertile ground. In the era of late 20th and early 21st century globalization, a fresh layer was added to this issue. As borders became more porous and the world more interconnected, Canadian gangs evolved, incorporating influences from abroad and becoming part of a larger global network of organized crime. Next, let's delve into the impact of immigration. As people from various parts of the world made Canada their home, they brought with them their cultures, traditions, and sometimes their criminal elements. This resulted in a mixed palette of diverse gang manifestations, each with its unique character based on ethnic and cultural background. The latter part of the 20th century brought the rise of the drug trade, and with it, a myriad of opportunities for these gangs. They were quick to seize the moment, establishing intricate networks for drug trafficking that spanned across the country and even crossed international borders. In conclusion, we see that the roots of gang culture in Canada run deep, shaped by historical, social, and economic factors. This understanding is indeed crucial for developing effective strategies to address this persistent issue in the future. Gangs cannot be confined to a single definition. It's a multifaceted scenario. The Canadian landscape plays host to a myriad of gangs, each bearing their unique traits. As we transition to the urban heartland of Canada, we encounter street gangs, the dominant force in this setting. Their operations are marked by territorial nature, often extending their influence over specific neighborhoods or city blocks. The structure within these gangs mirrors a corporate setup, with a clear chain of command from the top brass down to the foot soldiers. Their crimes are diverse, from drug trafficking and extortion to acts of violence, employing a blend of intimidation, violence, and economic exploitation. On the other hand, as we shift our focus to the more remote regions of Canada, we find the terrain of outlaw motorcycle gangs, or OMGs. These gangs operate differently, with a tighter-knit membership bound by a shared love for motorcycles and a disdain for societal norms. They engage in similar criminal activities to street gangs, but often with a greater degree of organization. Methamphetamine and synthetic drug trafficking is commonplace among these groups. As we delve deeper, we find that gangs are not static. They evolve and adapt to societal changes, law enforcement strategies, and market opportunities. The advent of the digital age has seen some gangs extend into cybercrime, exploiting the online world's anonymity and lucrative potential. However, a common thread that weaves through all gang types is their penchant for violence. Whether to establish dominance, exact revenge, or instill fear, violence remains a defining characteristic, a stark reminder of the threat these groups pose to Canadian society and the urgency to address their presence. Therefore, understanding the diverse nature of Canadian gangs is paramount to tackling the issue effectively. Let's jump straight into the heart of the matter. The presence of gangs is far from a benign issue. Now let's shift focus to how their activities ripple through society, affecting not just the members, but the wider community as well. So let's unpack the magnitude of their impact, transitioning to how gangs, with their criminal activities, pose a significant threat to public safety. Then we'll explore how they transform neighborhoods into battlegrounds, creating an environment of fear and uncertainty. Now, consider this. The sounds of gunshots become the norm rather than the exception, and the sight of police tape becomes all too familiar. Moving on, let's delve into how residents are in the crossfire, their lives disrupted, their sense of safety shattered. But the story doesn't end there. The impact of gangs doesn't stop at violence. So, let's spotlight how these groups often perpetuate cycles of poverty, making it difficult for communities to break free from the chains of economic hardship. Now let's tackle the truth behind how they exploit the vulnerable, enticing them with promises of easy money and a sense of belonging. Yet those who join these gangs often find themselves trapped in a cycle of crime and poverty from which escape is exceedingly difficult. Now, shifting gears, let's look at the strain gangs place on community resources, law enforcement agencies, social services, and healthcare systems bear the brunt of this burden. Policing costs skyrocket as we see authorities trying to combat gang activities. Hospitals and emergency rooms are often overwhelmed with victims of gang-related violence. Let's not forget about the social services. They're stretched thin, working tirelessly to provide support to those affected by the gang culture. Another aspect we need to touch on is the escalation of violence. Gangs breed hostility and rivalry. Disputes over territory or power often result in violent confrontations. Innocent bystanders become victims. Communities are left to pick up the pieces, their sense of security shattered, their faith in a peaceful existence shaken. Finally, let's reflect on how the impact of gangs extends beyond their members, undermining our collective well-being and social cohesion. They're not just a problem for those directly involved, they're a problem for all of us, and that's why understanding this issue is so critical, because only when we fully grasp the scope of the problem can we begin to formulate effective solutions. Addressing the issue of gangs in Canada is no easy task. However, with a comprehensive approach, we can begin to make progress. Transitioning to the core of the problem, the challenges in combating gang-related issues are multifaceted, reflecting the complex nature of the problem. Entrenched networks of gang members, often established over generations, create formidable barriers to effective interventions. These networks, maintained through loyalty and fear, are difficult to penetrate, impeding intelligence gathering and law enforcement efforts. Moving forward, the socioeconomic root causes driving gang recruitment add another layer of complexity. Factors such as poverty, lack of education, and limited employment opportunities create a fertile ground for gang involvement, particularly among vulnerable individuals seeking a sense of belonging, protection, or financial stability. To overcome these challenges, we need a comprehensive approach. Transitioning to potential strategies, this approach blends law enforcement efforts with community engagement, prevention, and rehabilitation initiatives. Collaboration and intelligence sharing among law enforcement agencies are crucial for disrupting gang activities. This involves not only targeted enforcement actions, but also developing a deeper understanding of the dynamics and structure of gangs to dismantle their networks effectively. Shifting focus, equally important are prevention and rehabilitation initiatives that provide alternatives to gang involvement. Investment in education, job training, and social services can offer pathways to a better future for at-risk individuals. Additionally, community-based interventions such as mentorship programs and gang exit strategies can play a key role in breaking the cycle of violence and empowering individuals to pursue positive paths. Furthermore, addressing socioeconomic disparities is vital for mitigating the conditions conducive to gang recruitment and activity. Transitioning to the importance of policy making. Policies that focus on poverty reduction, access to affordable housing, and quality education can help create environments where gangs are less likely to flourish. While the road ahead is challenging, with a comprehensive and collaborative approach, we can make strides in addressing the issue of gangs in Canada. Visualize the problem. If left unchecked, the issue of gangs in Canada could cast a long shadow on our future. As move to the next scene, let's consider the repercussions. Allowing gang activity to continue unabated holds the potential to ripple outwards, far beyond the immediate sphere of criminal activity. When we zoom out to the broader tapestry of Canadian society, escalating violence could become an everyday reality, not just in the urban centers, but if we shift our gaze to the more remote areas of the country. Now imagine the resulting. This could lead to a heightened sense of fear and insecurity, undermining the fabric of our social cohesion. As we delve deeper into the issue, we face another unfortunate outcome: deepening socioeconomic disparities. With each passing frame, we how gang activity perpetuates cycles of poverty, and if left unaddressed, these cycles become increasingly difficult to break. As we transition into the impacts on our resources, this, in turn, could strain our community resources and hinder our economic development. Our final message, as we conclude our journey, is clear. Addressing the issue of gangs is not just about the present, but also about safeguarding our future, ensuring safer, more resilient communities for all Canadians.